Hey there, it's John from Living the Music, talking about McCartney III, Paul's album, which came out in December of 2020. Why are we going into this album today? Well, I thought it would be interesting to have a little perspective as we go into the release of his brand new album, his first album since McCartney III. So we got The Boys of Dungeon Lane coming out on May 29th, just around the corner. And there seems to be a considerable degree of excitement, you might even say hype, for this new album, which is great. I'm a huge McCartney fan, and I'm as excited for it as anybody. People seem to be really loving the couple of advanced tunes that he's put out. But I thought it would be helpful to put some perspective, recent perspective that is, on the new album. And we do that by looking back to McCartney III. See, I think it's all too easy to dismiss McCartney III or say that it doesn't measure up to the new one, whether that's people just so excited it's been so long since they've heard anything new from Paul, or, they just want to get on board with, the cheerleading of the new album. I don't know. And maybe the new album will be easily superior, but I think McCartney III is a hell of an effort from Paul, later on in his career, so to speak. But I think he came through pretty much with flying colors on this. We'll go through it track by track. And then when the new one comes out and we eventually review that, this will be fresh in our minds and we'll be able to make, hopefully, a reasonable comparison. All right. So as I said, this came out in 2020. This is the Third Man Records version, the 3333 version. That is to say, they made 3,333 copies of this. So they did a 333 one, which is, as you can expect, very difficult to find and very expensive. But this one is cool. You got the yellow splatter on it. So I dig that. And the album came with this wonderful, I guess it's a poster. I was going to say booklet, but a lot going on there. I can't even show it all to you. It's so huge. But Paul usually does a really nice job with his packaging, and McCartney III was no exception. Now, there were tons of color variants on it, which got the collectors going and, spiced their imaginations. It really went quite, out there with, I don't even know how many, 15 or more. And with the new album, the variants keep coming seemingly weekly. But anyway, that's fine. I have 2 or 3 copies of McCartney III. I got 1 copy of the new one coming. We'll see what I end up getting. All right, so let's zero in on this McCartney III album and remind ourselves of these tracks and give them a rating of what we think of them. Now, of course, I say we, that's me on this video, but I want to hear what you think in the comments below. We all hear music differently, and everybody's point of view is certainly valid and welcome. All right, so he starts off the album with an instrumental, basically an acoustic guitar instrumental. It brings in other instruments as the song gets going, but it's a very interesting way to start the album. It's called Long-Tailed Winter Bird. It goes on a little over 5 minutes. I like it. The thing is, it's just a bit too long. You can see that he's cut and pasted, sections to just kind of repeat, which is fine. That was his vision for it. But I think it would have been better, all things considered, if it was around 3 minutes long. So I'm going to give it a 7. Solid opening, very inventive, cool, but because it goes on a little long, I can't give it more than a 7. All right, then he goes into song number 2, Find My Way. I really like this one. This one, I think back in the day, would have been a pretty good hit single for Paul. This is very poppy, great drums on this. In fact, I love the drums on this whole album. I love his playing, I love his feel, and I love the sound they got also. So I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. I think it's really high-level Paul McCartney, whether it can compete with Jet, and with a little luck, I'm not sure. It's like kind of hard to compare so many years earlier. In a sense, his voice was different, his whole vibe was different, the whole scene in the world was different, and of course we were different when we heard that. So look, I like all of that. With a little luck, Jet, Find My Way, I think they're all great songs. I would put them on a playlist together. So it gets a 10 out of 10. Number 3, he comes with Pretty Boys. This is kind of an acoustic ballad, but it brings in drums as it gets going. Very nice. This is about male models. Interesting subject matter. He sings it with a little bit of a quiet, fragile voice, but I think it works fine. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Then we go into number 4. This starts a stretch of great songs. So we got Women and Wives, number 4. He sings this with that deep voice that he takes on. This is a really cool tune. Piano ballad. I'm giving this 10 out of 10. It's like a new sound for Paul, especially with the voice sort of character that he takes on. But, great melody, kind of brooding. I dig it. Then we go into number 5, Lavatory Lil. This one, from what I can remember in reviews I've read or heard, doesn't seem to get a lot of acclaim, but I dig this one. Granted, it's just a ditty. It's just a fun rocker, but I think he pulls it off well. And as he says, like with Chuck Berry songs, it's not always so easy to write those sort of rock lyrics that roll off the tongue and have a cool sound to them and blend together well. I think he's pulled it off here. Whether he was talking about his former wife Heather Mills, we all can guess, but I wouldn't be surprised. All right, number 6, we got Deep Deep Feeling. This is an over 8-minute track, so quite a different animal for Paul. Not that he's never done that before, but quite rarely. And I think he pulls this one off. It's almost like a prog track, many different sections to it, brooding, hypnotic. I enjoy this quite a bit. I'm giving this another 10. So we got 3 10s in a row there with Women and Wives, Lavatory Lil, and Deep Deep Feeling. Now we go down a little bit with numbers. Okay, where are we now? Lavatory Lil was number 5. Deep Deep Feeling number 6. Okay, number 7 is Slidin', and this is one that I guess he recorded on tour, and it was like a rehearsal kind of jam. So he's got Rusty from his band on guitar. He's got Abe on drums. This is the only song with other musicians other than Paul. It's cool. It's quite a heavy rockin' tune. It just doesn't do a lot for me. And the vocals are mixed a little bit down. I can't always tell what he's saying. Not that the words are all that meaningful anyway, but I'm gonna give it a 7. It's cool. It's fine. Number 8, The Kiss of Venus. This is an acoustic little kind of thing. I suppose, roughly speaking, in the realm of Mother Nature's Son, kind of a song. This one has gotten quite a bit of notoriety and praise from many quarters. To me, I don't love it. Something about the melody is not hugely pleasing to my ears, and I've had a number of years to sort of warm to it, and I like it, but I can't get to the point of loving it. So that's going to get a 7 for me. Then we go to song number 9, Seize the Day. I really like this one. Giving this a 10 out of 10. Another poppy tune. Could have been a hit back in the day. It's got some interesting lyrics, Eskimos and so forth. But I like it. Basically, look, we may not have all the time in the world we think, either as an individual or as a species. So seize the day for now while we can. Great message, and not too heavy-handed, but pulled off very well. Then we go to song number 10, which is Deep Down. It's like a funky track. This is pretty good. I don't absolutely love it. I guess this came in with for some criticism from many people, in various reviews. I don't think it's all that bad in any way. In fact, I'm going to give it an 8. I enjoy it. Yeah, it gets repetitive, but he grooves with his vocal, and he gets off on kind of like, saying this refrain over and over again, but he says it many different ways. So yeah, it goes on probably a little too long at almost 6 minutes, but it's quite good anyway. And then finally he closes the album with Winterbird / When Winter Comes. So it's a little snippet of the instrumental that opened the album, and then into this folky kind of guitar ballad, When Winter Comes. And this is interesting because he recorded this back in the 90s around, I think, either the Flaming Pie era or even before that with the Off the Ground era. I'm sorry, I am forgetting that at the moment, but I'm sure it was recorded in the 90s, and he just kind of held on to it. But it's a really strong song, very sweet. The video they did, the animated video, is really nice too, and it's his voice is perfectly fine and pleasing throughout the album, but it is quite a refreshing sound to hear his 90s voice come in at the end. And it's like it's an interesting juxtaposition to throw this one in here at the end. But as far as the flow of the album and the payoff of concluding with this, I think it works wonders, and I love it. So I have a lot of time for When Winter Comes, and I'm giving that a 10 out of 10. So what is our overall score for McCartney III? It comes in at 8.8 out of 10. So strong album, and I had a feeling it would do this well, and that's why, again, I wanted to put this out there to lead into the new album, and let's see, and we got to give the new album a little time to breathe and so forth. And it's easy to make these sort of snap judgments of which one's better, but we'll see. I mean, I guess I'm just saying it's going to have to be very good to be up to the standard of this album, where I think he came through really positively at a high level, and pretty much doing it all himself, at least as far as the instruments, the voices, the arrangements. I guess he had some help on the engineering side, which makes perfect sense at this point. So there you go, McCartney III. Revisit this. I encourage you to revisit this before the new one comes out, and we'll all celebrate the new one. In any case, what a privilege in a sense to get an album from Paul, who will be just about 84 years old when the new album comes out. And what a testament to his artistic passion to keep putting in the time and the creativity into new music. So he's my guy. He's my favorite artist of all time, and I'll be listening as long as he's around, and certainly as long as I'm around. So again, looking forward to it. But I always have McCartney III to go back to as well. Very good album, as you can tell, I feel, from this review. All right, thanks for staying with us here. Give us a like on this video if you don't mind. If you made it this far, you maybe enjoyed the video, and I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel for lots of McCartney content, but also sort of a eclectic taste here as well, along the lines of classic rock, sometimes indie rock, sometimes prog rock. That's kind of my sort of fields that I enjoy. And sometimes I enjoy getting into sort of the deeper philosophy of some of the lyrics. So check out some of my other videos if you're so inclined. And again, subscribe to make sure you don't ever miss any of my videos. Take care, everybody.